Let's make sure everything is okay over here. Yes. Hello. Hello to everyone on the Speed Gaming channel. I am BigNoNo, and I'm going to be running Yakuza Kiwami today. Yakuza Kiwami is the remake of the original Yakuza on the PS2, for better or worse. And yeah, I will be running its main category today, which is any percent easy. And let's get right to it. Before we start, I do want to say one thing. Yesterday, my sister's father-in-law, Mati, passed away. He was a great man. We'll miss him a lot, and this run is dedicated to his memory. Alright, so, like I've said, any percent easy, meaning we don't use any clear data, and we are running on easy, of course. So the run will begin, I'll be counting from 3 to go, so 3, 2, 1, go. So, the first thing, Kiwami does mean extreme. Thank you, Mad Dragon. that is entirely correct. The first thing you learn to do in this run, and this is because you do it literally from the start, is skipping cutscenes. Skipping cutscenes is all about mashing start to get this prompt up. There's a lot of signs to how to press start at exactly the right time. Different cutscenes have different tempos that are ideal to mash start in. It's a whole science, and I will try to show some aspects of it during this run. I will also want to talk about stamina management in this run, but this will come a bit later. Before that, we are going to have to deal with the great tragedy of any Yakuza speedrun, and that it has to start with a tutorial. The problem with tutorials in the Yakuza games is that they want you to do each move a certain number of times. However, if a move hits multiple enemies, it's considered as if you've done the move more than once. So the optimal way to do tutorials is to just group enemies together as much as possible and hit all of them at the same time. As you can see, this is not necessarily a simple or safe process, and many times it can get you hit, and you take all sorts of risks for it to work. So, yeah, it's just something you gotta learn to deal with. Everyone, pretty much anyone I know who runs Yakuza games, resets a lot on the tutorials. But we got through that. That was a 139, which is the worst time for a tutorial, for the first tutorial that I don't reset on. Anything 140 and above I reset on, because at this point in the runs, I just can't afford the time loss. So yeah, getting a run of this game going is actually kind of tough. And this guy doesn't help. This guy is the second tutorial, and here we learn how to block. So that was very good, actually. That's really good RNG. We want to see that triple attack, because that counts as blocking 2 attacks when we block that. And he was very quick. This has been a really good tutorial so far, so it's not really making the case for me that it's hard to get a run of the game going. But believe me, this isn't what usually happens. This guy specifically, sometimes you'll just stand there blocking, and he will just be standing there staring at you. There's no way that we know of speeding it up. You just gotta reset if he decides he doesn't want to really fight you anymore. Kiryu's never killed. We will see just how little Kiryu has killed people over the course of this run. But yes, that's been most of our tutorials. There's still a couple of small tutorials coming up, but generally if you've gotten to this point with an okay time, you're probably good. Having done all that, here's the time for... So like I said, this is a remake of the original Yakuza from the PS2, and it's really, really loyal to that game most of the time. One of the times where it's not is this little side story about how Kiryu got the ring that he's going to give Yumi, the woman he's in love with in this game. For some reason, they decided that it's not enough to establish that Kiryu loves this woman and wanted to get her a ring. It's really important that we see the story of how he got that ring. So strap yourselves in, because this is high drama right here. The getting of the ring from the jewelry store. Very important backstory for the entire Yakuza series arc, basically. So, movement tech. I've actually I think I've figured out the movement in this game just recently. The thing you want to avoid the most is the animation you're seeing right now where Kiryu lifts his head up in the air. That is pretty much the slowest move animation. You want to use your dash as much as possible without getting Kiryu into his tired animation. Rest of the time you just want to walk. It's better that way. It looks like a very small time save, but it's actually it's about something like half a second to a second each block you walk. So it actually kind of builds up over the course of the game. I was surprised at how much time it saves. So we got mugged, we lost the ring, and now we need to get the ring back from this man, this very well hidden man here. I'm told that his name is pronounced Saboy. I used to pronounce it Tsuboy because I don't know, sadly, much about Japanese. So take your pick. One of those should be correct. The significance of Saboy is he is one of many enemies in this game who 90% of the time will just sit there and let you do what you want. Then there's the other 10% where he just decides, you know what? I want this guy to lose like 10-15 seconds of his run. So let's see which Saboy we have this time. So I'm going to quickly change to the brawler style. Alright, then we got the good Saboy. So yeah, when he just stands there and lets you grab him, that's ideal. That's what happens most of the time. Then sometimes, especially if you had really good tutorials and got here on a really good pace, he will do a 10-hit unblockable combo that knocks you to the ground, and then you have to deal with him like doing very quick steps, which I guess that's why they're called quick steps. Doing them very quickly all around you. So yeah, it's definitely a really it stings to lose that time to him. At any rate, it appears that Savoy has already, in the 10 seconds it took us to track him down, managed to come to this store and pawn off the ring. So now, since we were broke, we spent our own money on getting the ring, we're going to have to ask our friend Shinji for money. And Shinji's very generous. He gladly gives us the money. There's an interesting bug here where sometimes Kiryu's pathing can get kind of weird. Let's see if we get it. Yeah. So you see Kiryu going towards the sign. He was actually supposed to go down this alley. Sometimes this just happens and loses you a second. We have no idea what causes it. There are some theories that it has something to do with the camera angle and the angle at which you walk into that cutscene, but no one really knows. If anyone knows, please hit me up. I would love to know. I believe that the current world record, which I actually got last night, I believe it has that bug. So there's a 1 second time save right there. At any rate, coming back to the pawn shop, we see that the owner actually raised the price, because that's how supply and demand works. So we need to get more money from Shinji. So now we have a grand total of 150,000 yen from Shinji. So eventually it turns out that the pawn shop owner realizes that the ring really belonged to us. He feels bad, so he just gives it back to us. And you might wonder, do we give Shinji his money back, like showing some appreciation for his generosity? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We need that 150,000 yen. Sorry, Shinji, but we have to go fast. And going fast will be, in the first few chapters, will be greatly predicated on having that money. Yeah, I actually... oh. Where's Trigger there? I actually improved the world record just practicing for this marathon, which was very neat. Alright, at this point, Kiryu gets word that his brother Nishiki is off to help Yumi, who was kidnapped by the big family boss Dojima. So Kiryu has his direct boss, who's Kazuma, who we'll see later in the run, but he also has Dojima, who runs the bigger family. So we're on the way there to see what's up, when we run into this man, who you might recall from the very first part of the run, Hirata. Hirata doesn't like that we ruined his business, so he's here with his muscle to take care of us. Luckily, they were very compliant this time, so a charge throw and then a normal throw is all that was really needed to deal with them. This is also another fight that 90% of the time it goes fine. Well, that one specifically maybe more like 60-70. But then the rest of the time, they'll dodge you and they'll hit you, and it's very not fun. But yeah, this is actually not a bad chapter 1 so far. If we got a faster tutorial 1, this would have actually been close to my PB time, probably. Anyway, Kiryu takes the blame for Nishiki killing the family leader, the family captain, Dojima. And since generally criminal organizations don't appreciate when you kill their leaders, they've sent this assassin to deal with him. Luckily, we make short work of this guy. This introduces the Kiwami system in the game. Kiwami is extreme, as people in chat have pointed out already. Kiwami is basically when boss enemies will get this aura around them, and in most of the cases the aura doesn't do anything. In some of the cases the aura comes with a very, very nasty health region that we are going to want to avoid at any cost. And like I've said, a lot of cutscene skips. Usually, most of the chapters start and end with a whole bunch of cutscenes, so it's really important to get the tempo down. This is chapter 2. After 10 years, Kiryu has served his sentence, and we are off to find out what's happening in the world. First thing I'm going to do here, we have lost all of our abilities. In chapter 1, you're the completely upgraded Kiryu. In this chapter, we lost all abilities and need to learn them again. I only have 2 experience points, I think, and I'm going to use one of them to learn Max Crush. Max Crush is the charge throw that I used on Hirata's muscle just a little while ago. I'm going to use it very soon in this fight against Majima, and it's a very important ability. But we will see more of that soon. Meanwhile, everyone loves a bit of Majima. Look at him spinning around. You generally don't want him to do that. Him spinning around is bad. His not giving me heat for that throw is also bad. So we're starting with a bit of rough RNG. But anyway, here's Max Crush. And now, here's me using a heat move on Majima. Now look at that damage. If you've played Kiwami, you probably know that even on easy, you're not supposed to do that much damage with a heat move. Turns out, if you use the heat move directly after Max Crush, it really, really, really upgrades your damage output. We don't know why. It's not really documented in any way, so it's apparently some sort of weird glitch. But that's basically one of the main things that make this run so fast. You just do a charge throw on someone, and it does an amazing amount of damage afterwards whenever you use a heat move. So, despite us barely taking a hit from Majima and very clearly destroying him, he's still here lecturing us about how soft we've become and how we need to recover the dragon. Which we won't do. We actually don't ideally learn anything from the dragon tree here. But beating Majima, despite the verbal lashing he gave us, provides us with 100 experience points, which we can use to learn a bunch of abilities. I'm learning all sorts of abilities here, most of them just health and damage upgrades. Among them, there's also Grab Mastery. Grab Mastery greatly charges our heat when we grab someone in the start of a fight. And that's tech that we will be using constantly. And we're also learning another ability that greatly increases our damage output when we are at full health. What this means is that in order to be fast in this run, you have to ideally never get hit, or at least have enough health to constantly refill your HP. So yes, the ideal Kiwami run is basically a no-hit run. No one's ever gotten quite that sharp, but we try to get hit as little as possible. It's really important to the run. That's why even though this run is on easy, it's not an easy run. It's actually extremely volatile. And like if I grabbed that guy a bit late and he got a hit on me, it actually would have made a fight later in this chapter much slower. Would have made that fight lose like around 10 seconds. So like anything can happen in this run, and it's really important to be sharp, to have a lot of backups, and to really know what you're doing. At any rate, we are looking for an information broker. We're looking for a liaison with our direct boss, with Kazama. And for that, we need to find a club called Stardust. Serious stalwarts will note that we actually started the chapter really close to that club. Yakuza Kiwami has a weird habit, which it takes directly from the original game, where it really wants to send you to some location only to find out that the location you needed to go to is where you started. Probably to get you to see more of the city, but it's always kind of silly when it happens. At any rate, I'm using this detour to pick up some locker keys. Locker keys allow us to open naturally lockers in a certain part of the game, where we will pick up items that will be very important for the run's money route. So that will become relevant in 2 chapters. But I'm going to pick up... I already picked up one locker key, and I'm going to pick up another one right now. Here it is. I could have technically picked up that locker key on the way right after the Majima fight, but picking up the locker keys recharges your stamina, so it just makes more sense to pick it up on the way back. And here's Yuya. Yuya, another serious regular. He thinks we've come here to shake down the club. So to make sure that he knows we're not a danger, we are going to take his head and bash it into the asphalt. Because that's how you make friends. Having convinced Yuya of our that we're not a danger, he lets us into the club, where we actually meet the people who are trying to shake down the club. These fine gentlemen over here, these guys. And we are going to handle these people. So right away I'm going to use grab mastery. I'm going to grab this guy, and I'm going to go to the left, and I'm going to use this heat move, which I just call a heat swing. That gets rid of two... Oh no, I left the knife guy alive. That's not good. So we usually want to get rid of people with knives more than anyone else, because they can stun lock you, almost. But sadly, it didn't quite work out that way. But that's fine, we're good. We're just finishing off these guys, picking up the knife, and dealing with this guy. Remember, Kiryu never killed anyone. This is a completely non-lethal stab wound. So don't worry about it. And you might recognize this guy. This is Shinji, our friend from all these years ago. Shinji being a very nice guy. Sorry about that. Shinji being a very nice guy isn't asking for our 150,000 yen back, for his 150,000 yen back, which is very nice of him. He just brings us to this funeral where we can talk to Kazama. But first we have to get through all this security and all these Tojo people, because remember, we did kill one of their leaders. At least that's what they think. So kind of need to tread carefully. Don't go too far to the left there, because you will get caught by the guy in the suit and will lose 10 seconds from your run. Yes, that did happen to me yesterday. Not in the PB run, but in one of the other runs I did. So here we just give them a fake name and a fake family, so they don't know it's us. And following this, there's kind of a weird sequence where we overhear this guy losing what is basically his backstage pass. So we go and pick up the backstage pass, and then the guy finds us and says, "Oh great, you found my backstage pass," and then he gets fired. And after he gets fired, he says that he threw away his backstage pass, so we can just take it out from the trash. Why make it such a convoluted sequence instead of just giving us the backstage pass right there where we picked it up? I have no idea. As far as I can remember, it's the same way it happens in the original... No, the original game I actually think might be a bit more simplistic, so did they want to give us more of a background on the backstage? I don't know. This game is weird. This game is weird, and I know that so much of what I'm saying about the plot sounds like complete gibberish, but believe you me, that's just the plot. That's if you don't follow, don't feel bad. It's pretty much unfollowable. The first Yakuza had some issues with its writing. At any rate, finally, going backstage, we are confronted by this man you're seeing right there. A man from the Omi Alliance, which is the big Yakuza rival of the Tojo clan that we used to be part of. What this man is doing here is kind of unclear at this point, but you know what we're going to do with him. Charge throw, heat move, and that's the end of that. So here's the point where we knock Shinji down. You don't have to do that. I'm actually pretty sure you lose time for that, but I mean, it'll never stop amusing me how he just flops down to the ground right there. I know, I'm a great friend. Yeah, here we buy a lot of healing items, because like I said, keeping your health up is important. So pretty much whenever we get hit, we're going to want to heal pretty much soon after, with some exceptions. So lots of healing items and a dagger for reasons that will become clear soon, TM. Here's some super advanced PC tech. I'm actually using, you will not believe this, keyboard and mouse for this section. Which, I don't know if that saves time, but it is fancy, so I just keep doing it. Real Yakuza use a controller, but we are speedrunners, so that doesn't really apply to us. And that was perfect RNG. The best RNG you can get in this room is that all 4 of these guys just rush you, and your sofa swing just knocks them all down, and that's what we got. It's actually pretty rare RNG, so we're lucky to have witnessed that. So I'm using Beast Style to knock this lantern around and get rid of all these guys. The problem with that is that that gives them a lot of time to attack you while you're doing your very slow swing animation. I'm actually going to heal right now, because I find it's just a bit better on this part. And you may think I missed that guy with the lantern. I didn't. The lantern can't hit him. What it can do is make it much closer for me to pick up and use against all these guys. Oh, they teleported. Nice. I would usually complain about a game giving the enemy cheat codes, but in this case it makes things faster, so I don't mind. Alright, so we dealt with all the little guys. Now we're going to face a mini-boss. Mini-bosses are identified by having yellow text in their names. This man, we're just going to grab him and charge throw him. Nothing to it. Not much of a mini-boss. Usually, the thing that that sets mini-bosses apart from normal enemies is generally just the fact that they don't really take damage from guns, which we are actually going to use later in the run, so look forward to that. Please hit that man, Kiryu. Thank you for eventually doing that. So you may have noticed, generally a lot of most of the damage of our combos is concentrated in the last hit. So what I'm trying to do most of the time is I'm trying to group these guys together, so I hit ideally at least 2, but maybe even 3 or 4 of them at the same time with my combo. Completely failed to do that last time, they were too scattered. But if you see me moving around kind of weirdly, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to basically line these guys up for one of these. Oh, beautiful. 3 at the same time.
You got time for me to make a statement?
Yes, please.
All right, well, I'm sure some of you have noticed we've reached $17,000 as we've added in $1,664.85. That is the revenue thanks to all the subs and bits that we've picked up over the course of this marathon. So special thanks to all of you who've cheered as well as subscribed to the channel throughout the entire event. Now, of course, that puts us at 17,000. We're nearing in on that $19,000 plateau that we had for last year's No Kid Hungry, so you can definitely help get us there. Plus, of course, we still got the hand cam incentive for Yagamouse 1 player 2 controllers, plus karaoke 5 songs, up to 5 songs, that is $200 per song. So those incentives still at play here as we move through this afternoon.
Yes, this game's karaoke, just like any Yakuza, is fantastic. You do not want to miss that. Yeah, so here we have another mini encounter with Majima. Before that, you may have noticed I switched to Rush to the pink or purple style. The reason for that is you move a lot faster in Rush. We don't use it everywhere in the run, just because changing styles or fighting styles back and forth does lose you some time. But if you have a very long time to walk without needing to fight anyone, it generally does pay off to switch. So Shimano, very nasty boss. A lot of people might remember him from casual playthroughs. Has a big nasty regen that he does. We don't have to deal with any of that because, thanks to Max Crush, our dagger heat move completely obliterates him. And that's the end of that. Yeah, I agree. The entirety of Chapter 3 is it's the first time you get into a big set piece in this game, and it's really impressive to just get this long gauntlet of fights. It's really cool. A really great moment in the game. Alright, so at this point, we did get found out at the funeral, and we got picked up by Detective Date, also a serious regular, who will be involved a lot in this run later. For now, we leave him behind to look for Serena, the bar we used to frequent before we went to jail. But first, you might remember that I picked up some coin locker keys in Chapter 2. We're going to pick up the items from the locker now. And what we're going to do is we're going to do some shopping. Just a short detour from our main story activities. One thing that you really got to start noticing at Chapter 4, technically it kind of becomes relevant in Chapter 2, but more in this chapter. You start getting fight spawns, and you start getting Majima Spawns. So fight spawns are basically the random battle encounters of the Yakuza series. Every Yakuza that I can think of has them, even Yakuza 7, of course, they're turn-based combat instead of real-time combat. And they're basically just groups of enemies who see you on the street and aggro onto you. We want to avoid those fights like the plague. Ideally, you don't want any fights, any optional fights in your run. They lose a nasty chunk of time. We do have ways to deal with them if we have to. I will showcase one of those ways if we do get into an optional fight. But for the most part, we also have some techniques to avoid them. Majima spawns are the same, except instead of just being a group of random enemies, it's Majima himself. And he's actually not that bad. For reasons I'll explain if we do get into a fight with him. But Majima on any percent is actually not a big deal if you fight him. You do lose some time for the fight itself, which is nasty. But it's not too big of a problem. At any rate, by the way, if we have any donations or anything like that, this is a good time to read some.
Don't have anything just yet here as far as this current segment is concerned, but definitely get them in. As like I mentioned, we still have that incentive that we're looking for, $200 per song up to a maximum of 5 for the karaoke that will be coming up at the close of this run. And again, we're still just a couple of hours away from Yakuma's 1 player 2 controllers run, and we're still hoping to meet that incentive as well. So please get your donations in. I'll go into a good cause. No kid hungry, where $1 equals 10 kids getting to eat for the upcoming summer.
Absolutely. So, one of the items I picked up during our run of errands is the Elder Belly Warmer. The Elder Belly Warmer is a piece of equipment. Thank you. Is a piece of equipment that increases the damage output we have when fighting large groups of enemies. So, that's why this fight happened so quickly. Could have went quicker, but we'll take it. Generally, if you forget to equip the Elder Belly Warmer, you find out at that point, and that's also probably when you reset your run. Because that fight's a lot nastier without it. Alright, so... at this point in the run, we found Haruka in the pub over there in Bacchus, and the reason for the fight was there was this dog that those teenagers were harassing. We saved the dog. Haruka was happy, and now she suddenly fainted, so we're taking her to Stardust. Luckily, during this part, there's no sub-story triggers on the map that we can run into. There's no random fights, but we do have some scripted fights. And the path I'm taking to Serena right now is to minimize the amount of fights you get. If you go the other way around, you actually get an extra fight, which is nasty. Saving a small dog in the street. Yeah, these games... I think especially since the second game, these games just really know what they are, and they have a really good sense of humor about it, which is great. Anyway, that was another use of the heat swing. I used grab mastery to get heat as soon as we got into that fight, and then just swung the guys around. That is usually, if we don't have any choice and we actually get into a fight spawn, that's usually how we'll get rid of it, because it's a very quick way of getting rid of a group of 3 enemies. The problem is that later in the run, we start getting groups of 4 and 5 enemies, and that's not quite as quick. But it still helps thin their numbers down quicker. So, if you want to watch a magic trick, I'm on this side of the street, and boom, other side of the street already. So a lot of the triggers in Kiwami aren't exactly proximity based, they're based on like crossing some sort of vertical or horizontal line. So if you walk on the other side of the streets, it just teleports you all the way there. It's not a huge time save, but I still think it's cool. Alright, and we are close to the end of this chapter. We're about to have our final boss fight. This is the Millennium Tower. Anyone who's played games in the series, except for Zero, will know it's a very important part of the series. Usually a lot of important things happen here. And this is no exception. We're going to see this, we're definitely going to see the Millennium Tower again in the run. And I mentioned the Omi Alliance earlier. This man, Hayashi, is also from the Omi Alliance, and he's here to demand that we give Haruka over. And none of these guys... Sometimes his guys will just stare at you there, and that's the ideal behavior you want to see. Because a lot of the time when you try to charge throw Hayashi, one of his minions will hit you during the charge throw, and that knocks your damage output down, and that loses quite a bit of time for the fight. So that was actually a really good Hayashi. So at this point in the story, Kiryu, much like us, doesn't really know what's going on. And Date recommends that he seeks out the services of an information broker by the name of the Florist of Sai. He was called Kage in the American release of the original Yakuza, but we don't talk about that. So on Date's recommendation, we're going to see the Florist. But on the way, there's something very important we have to do. I'm going to walk down this street. And I'm going to get accosted by this gentleman. Who asks us to pay a toll to pass through the street, basically. So we're not down with that. We need the money for a money route. So we are going to teach this man some manners right now. So you just grab this guy, charge throw, and stomp him. Sir, yeah, stop. So this is a sub-story, and we're playing any percent. We don't really need to do any sub-stories. The thing is, for doing this sub-story, we get this item called the Leech Gloves. The Leech Gloves are a nice item in and of itself, but we're not actually going to use it for its use value. We're going to use it for its exchange value. Namely, we are going to sell the leech gloves for 500,000 yen, which is going to be really, really helpful later on. So this is all stuff we're still doing for much later in the run. So I'm going to sell the leech gloves, and I am also, once we get in here, going to remove all of my equipment. So this is, as the game says, the sort of red light district of Kamurocho. There's all sorts of things going here, but I can't name most of them because this is a family-friendly stream. Suffice to say, kind of a questionable place. And we come down here to talk to the florist. And the florist is willing to deal with us, but he doesn't want our money, which is good because we don't have much. He wants Q to provide a service in the form of just entertaining some people at the Coliseum. So now begins a sequence of 3 fights that are going to be brutal, very, very difficult. The strats here are going to get very complicated, so try to follow me as I explain them. So this first guy, what we do is we grab him, we use a charge throw, and then we use a heat move. Alright, did you get that? Because that's difficult, so give yourself time if not. It's only going to get more complex from here on. So this guy, what we do is we grab him, then we charge throw him, and we use a heat move. Alright, so don't worry, we got through 2 of them. We just have 1 left. This is everyone's favorite, Gary Buster Holmes. And we are going to grab him, use a charge throw, and then use a heat move. Alright, we somehow got through that. That joke used to be... used to have some merit to it a while ago because we used to have a different upgrade route, and it meant that we still used a charge throw and a heat move on the first 2 enemies, but then on Gary Buster Holmes, we actually had to do a charge throw twice, and only then do the heat move, so that was a different thing. That sounds like a minor difference, but there was actually a chance with Gary Buster Holmes that he would break out of your second grab, and then would initiate a pretty long sequence that would lose you a lot of time, so I'm actually really glad we got rid of that second grab. It's not quite as meaningless as I'm making it out to be. Alright, having gotten out of the Coliseum, we got word that our friend Date is being harassed by these fine gentlemen. So we're just going to have to help him. And we do that the only way we know how, by grabbing a guy and doing a heat swing. First of all. So that's 3 guys down. The other 4 we will knock out with simple brawler combos. The problem is that these guys are actually a bit more... They're a bit more... They're not as pushovers as some of the other enemies in the game. They have wooden katanas and everything, so they're actually... They actually could pose a threat, but luckily we got a good pattern there, and they didn't really manage to touch us. Pick skill points to save time. We will take care of more... We will actually learn more skills later in the run. Oh, you really want to bring back your equipment now that we took down for the Coliseum fights. And by the way, if you're wondering why we're here, Date told us that Haruka actually got kidnapped. And she got kidnapped by no one other than everyone's favorite girl Majima! Yeah! So this Majima fight is going to be much simpler than the first one. Knife heat move. And that's almost the end of it. The problem is, in Kiwami at least, bosses seem to have trouble recognizing that they've been defeated. So we will, we just had to explain Majima's situation to him. Having done that, we got Haruka back. But get used to the phrase Haruka got kidnapped, because it's not it's not the last time you're going to hear it in this run. Alright, so next up, Chapter 6. This is actually kind of a different chapter story-wise than the last few chapters we had. This one actually doesn't focus so much on the main story as it does the two of the side characters, the florist and Date, gives them a bit of characterization. What it translates to in terms of the run is that we go all over Kamurocho and get into some very interesting fights. So, you know, no complaints. It's all the same to us. But first of all, we have to engage in this training by this man called Kamaki. It looks like the game is giving you the option of not doing this, but it's an illusion. You have to go through this training. We actually found a use for this training later in the run, so it's not going to be completely useless, but it still would have been very cool if we found a way around this. So what we're learning here is a move called the Kamaki Shot Stopper. Basically, it's a counter for enemies with guns, as you see right there. Not a lot to it. The only thing to note here is that heat moves in general have cooldowns. You can't just keep using the same heat move consequently. You have to have a cooldown where you can't use the heat move again. So I just had to kick the guy a bit just to prevent him from shooting me until I can use the shot stopper again. Whoa. I try to always go fast past those steps. More movement tech. When you're going down or upstairs in this game, you always want to be running because the animation you get if you walk into the stairs is very slow and you can't speed it up while you're on the stairs. You can only speed it up beforehand. So you always want to hit stairs running. Of course, that doesn't always work out because, you know, camera angles are a difficult thing, as we all probably know. Heat moves have to cool down. That's right. That's right. I actually have not noticed that pun before. I'm going to give it a very polite one hand clap. If you could hear that, that was for you. If not, then I'm sorry. That's about as good as I can do while holding a controller. That's one of the things with this run. There's really not a lot of cooldown, so you might sometimes hear me just stop talking. Most of the time, that's because I'm actually reaching over to this glass of water I have here. There's very few opportunities over the course of the run for me to do that, so I try to take advantage of them whenever possible. So it turns out the florist has a problem, and that problem is that his son is being chased by some mean individuals. So we are going to go down to the batting cages, same place, be all of the run. I hope so. I am very happy for everyone who's here. Do appreciate you all for watching. So yeah, this is San Takashi. And what way to curry favor with the florist? What better way than to step his son in the gut? That's how we make friends around here in Kamurocho. But soon after dealing with the son, we also have to deal with his former gang, led by the Bee King, who is apparently very good at picking names. Heatswing deals with most of his minions. Oh, this isn't good. He might get a chance to attack. Alright, that's fine. Lost a bit of time there. So that was an example, the glowing thing that the Bee King did. That was an example of a Kiwami that doesn't recharge health. And those we can generally just use them as basically free time to hit an enemy. I used that time to first deal with his two underlings. Okay, so what you saw right there, that was going to be a Majima fight. One thing you can do whenever there's a fight spawn or you see Majima is talk to an NPC. Talking to an NPC de-aggroes the fight spawn, and if the fight spawn or Majima is close enough, it actually despawns them completely. Just teleports, in the case of Majima, just teleports him to another part of the map. So a lot of the time, that's like 90% of how we deal with fight spawns in this game. And we need to be really thankful for this tech, because people running Yakuza 3, 4, and 5, they don't have that. I do sincerely weep for those people. Alright, so that was actually a really good pattern. Damn. They all just came at me, so I just managed to destroy them all with one combo. That was a really good fight. So it turns out these guys are actually Takashi's girlfriend's father's Yakuza family. They're basically his goons that he sent to retrieve his daughter. As everyone knows, once you beat criminals up, they generally give up and leave you alone forever. So we just did the florist a huge favor. It's like getting rid of Jaws. I must confess to being too ignorant about movies to understand that reference, but I do applaud chat's level of movie knowledge. At any rate, now that we've solved the issues and everything's good, we're going back to the florist. Which I never thought of the irony of this, but the florist is actually going to give us a knife. Like, not stab us, he's literally going to give us a knife, he's going to give us the Goemon. The Goemon is a really, really good weapon. It's really good. Unfortunately, we're not, again, using it as a weapon, we're using it as a commodity. We're going to sell it a bit later in the run, and we're going to use a different knife that's a bit weaker, but still good enough for our purposes. But on New Game Plus, I don't just use the one Goemon, I use two of them. It's a really, really good weapon. Majima, that's right. Majima is just being polite. Majima's just doing this to steal us for the challenges ahead, so can't really complain too much about that. At any rate, we're done with the florist part of this chapter, and now we're moving on to the date part of the chapter. Before I do that, I'm actually going to upgrade my stamina again. As you've seen, Kiryu can't exactly run all that much. That's what all those years of smoking will do to you. So we get a couple of stamina upgrades just to mitigate that. So coming back to Serena, we find out that Date was supposed to meet his daughter. Unfortunately, he got drunk and fell asleep. So Father of the Year right there. And we're going to go to see what's up. We're going to the park right here. where we find that Date's daughter is doing some things that, again, I can't mention on a family stream. But she's gotten in with a bad crowd, and we need to see what's up. And our first stop is going to be her boyfriend, a man by the name of Shota, who apparently works in the Champions District. And excuse me, I will just duck into Serena real quick just to avoid that fight spawn. So that's another way of avoiding fight spawns. If there's no NPC around to talk to, you can just go into a building and go back out, and that reshuffles the encounters on the map. Most of the time that will solve your issues. I did have one run where I was on world record pace, and I lost it to Majima being on the map, and I went into a building to get rid of him, and when I came out, Majima was still there, and then I went into the building again, and when I came out, Majima was still there. And at that point, you just know that it's not your day, so you just reset the run and go do something productive with your life. At any rate, this is a Champions District, a really, really cool part of Kamurocho, one of my favorite parts of the town. And we come here to talk to this bartender in the place where Shotaro was supposed to be working, but we find out that Shotaro, or Shota, is actually not working there anymore, because he's working at, guess where? Stardust, the place we started from. You see what I'm saying about this game? About this game just spinning its wheels sometimes, just sending you to point B to go back to point A. That's just the nature of the beast. That's just what you have to deal with in this game. Alright, so I think I'm at full health, so I don't need to heal. And we are about to have a fight with a bunch of Shotaro's friends, because apparently they don't like that that we're trying to help Date's daughter get out of whatever he's gotten her into. So how do we deal with these gentlemen? I'm glad you asked. What you do is you pick up a big sign and you swing it around and you hope it does enough damage. I'm not being ironic or joking or anything. That's literally how you deal with these guys. Alright, these two should have very little health left. Alright, that was actually pretty damn good. 10kh fight. Alright, so we're done with Shota's goons, and we actually need to go deal with Shota himself, because apparently Date went over there to confront him, and he's in trouble, so we need to help our friend. Luckily, the Shota fight doesn't require you to be full health, so you can very safely take damage in the fight in 10kh. Kamurocho is a sworn world. It is, but so much more interesting and has so much more to do than some much larger worlds out there. At any rate, we deal with Shota the way we usually deal with people. That's all there is to that. I'm going to shove myself into this corner because I do want this healing item right here. And now we just deal with what remains of Shota's operation, which is just these three guys. And that brings us to the end of Chapter 6. Actually think... Huh. Actually thought I would save some time here, but it turns out we lost 20-something seconds. Huh. Why did that happen? I wonder. Anyway. At this point in the story, we are going to visit Kiryu's tattoo artist. Explaining why would honestly take entirely too long, But if you've played some of the other games in the series, especially Yakuza 2 or Kiwami 2, you know that, or Yakuza 3 as well, a lot of the games in the series talk about like the importance of these tattoos to the Yakuza lifestyle, would you call it? They're very important, is the point. And Kiryu comes here to talk to his tattoo artist. He also gets his tattoo touched up. And through this tattoo artist, we actually managed to set up a meeting with Nishiki, who you may remember before going to prison, we took the blame for killing Dojima for him. And it turns out that you would think Nishiki would feel he owes us some gratitude, but no, he's apparently quite cross with us and is constantly sending his goons after us. So we're going to have a quick talk with him to see what's up. But before we take care of that, you're not going to believe this, but Haruka got kidnapped for the second time in this game. So we need to go get her. And to do that, we're going to talk to one of the more useless characters in video games, a character that I usually complain about a lot during my marathon runs, but I just I've been trying to cut down. But this guy, Aoki, he's basically every time the game needs to send you on some I wouldn't exactly call it a wild goose chase, because you do find the thing you're looking for eventually, but anytime the game wants to spin its wheels a bit, it sends you to that guy who sends you to another place, and you go from there. So we overheard from the girls in that Sega club that Haruka is in a parking lot. So we're going to what apparently is the only parking lot in Kamurocho. And I picked up another locker key. Locker key is going to be important. That's a fight spawn. I want to avoid it. If the fight spawns are in a different position, you can just run past them. The only problem is when there's like a very tight corridor you have to walk through or something like that, where it really limits your ability to avoid the fight spawn. At any rate, this is the best NPC in the game, because you talk to him and he tells you to give him alcohol, and then you get an option to threaten him. If you threaten him, he asks for alcohol again, and if you threaten him a second time, he says, "Oh, sorry, yeah, I saw a girl in a park, I don't know where." So now we have to look at all the parks in Kamurocho, all 3 of them. So that was the first one. This is going to be the second one. And you can imagine that Haruka is going to be in the third one, which is right next to Stardust. In fact, it's not uncommon for me during my runs to accidentally walk into Stardust here instead of going to the park, which due to load times actually loses a fair bit of time, so don't do that. Okay, and here comes a very, very volatile fight, because it's a lot of people with guns, and like most enemy behavior in this game, it's kind of random what they decide to do with them. Ideally, they'll ignore me long enough for me to grab this guy behind us. Yes, you. Good. Heat swing him. Very good. And I'll pick up... Nope, pick up the gun. No! The gun. Not the person. The gun. Kiryu, there's a gun. Pick it up. Thank you. Jesus. Alright, that's not too bad. And finally, since mini-bosses don't take damage from guns, and we're also out of bullets, to be honest, we just throw that guy around, and that's the end of that fight. That actually didn't go that badly. The beginning was very sketchy, but we broke through. It's all good, folks. We survived. This is actually, I would say, after the beginning tutorial, which is probably responsible for by far most of my resets in this game, I'd say this is probably this chapter is probably the second worst run killer in well, the run. And we'll see the reason for that presently. Anyway, we got Haruka back from the men in the black suits. So Date suggests that since Haruka, you know, she's been kidnapped twice, she's seen a lot of violence, she's going through a really rough time, we should probably find a way to spend some time with her, get her mind off things, make her feel safe and cared for again. So what better way to do that? What better way to care for a traumatized 10-year-old than to take them to an illegal gambling house? That is what we're going to do right now. And this is actually, this is where runs can really die. Like, this fight alone can lose you somewhere between 30 seconds and a minute. But first of all comes this kind of weird section where it turns out that Haruka is kind of a magical girl, and she can predict the result of the dice throw in this gambling minigame. At least that's the way it is on the PlayStation version. On PC, there's a very, and I don't know, maybe it's on Xbox as well, but on PC, there's a weird bug where sometimes she guesses wrong. And we don't really know why. There's a couple of like very minor bugs in the PC port. They really do nothing to detract from the actual game itself, but they're just kind of weird. And this is one of them. Now, so far, we actually guessed all of them right. So we have one more die throw. I'm actually really curious, because I haven't seen Haruka getting all of them right since I started running the game, basically. Alright, so when you see the way Haruka narrows her eyes like that, that signals that she guessed wrong. That's not supposed to happen. In the game's narrative, what happened there basically is that Haruka guessed all of these times right until this guy came in from a break, and he took the dice with him. So, of course, we are going to see that Haruka guessed wrong this time. And according to the game, that's the first time she guessed wrong. So Kiryu is upset, and he wants to know what's up, and this leads us to a fight. This fight, that can happen in this fight, which is really bad. Ideally, you want to just grab this guy and use a heat swing like there. Okay, we saved it. That's still a few seconds lost. What can happen sometimes... Sorry, just trying to focus on this, guys. Where are you? Alright. What can happen sometimes is that you actually get hit while you're doing the heat swing, or right before doing it, rather. And then the heat swing doesn't get rid of the two mini-bosses, and you have to deal with them in other methods, and that loses at least 30 seconds. That's horrible. That's... Like, in terms of world record runs, that's run over. There's no recovering from that if that happens. So that in itself is a big run killer, but all of the... Oh! I thought I could run past them. Alright. Alright, that's unfortunate. Sir, please don't do that. Yeah, so as you can see, Chapter 7 fight spawns start having 4 people in them, so it's a lot messier. Can't just finish them off with a heat swing. And I am going to have to heal before the next fight. So as I was saying, the Stardust fight in this chapter can go very wrong. As we've seen, the Gambling House fight can go really wrong. We still have another fight, or rather 2 fights back to back. But the first one is pretty okay. The second one can also go very wrong. So there's basically 3 fights in this chapter that have like a potential 30-second time loss in them. If you don't do things correctly, or if you just get bad luck. So, Chapter 7, very, very dangerous chapter. All chapters lead back to Stardust. Yeah, a lot of them, actually. A lot of them. Alright, so, at this point, I need to heal. Because this is our meeting with Nishiki. And Nishiki gives us an ultimatum. He says he wants Haruka, or at least her pendant, or he will just continue coming at us. So, at this point we have to deal with his goons. So what I do here is, generally I want to take all these guys out with one combo. Alright, successful so far. Then I want to use the furniture on these guys. Hopefully that takes care of them. If not, you switch back to Brawler and deal with any stragglers. I found that this is the most consistent way to get through that fight quickly and without needing to heal. Now, this is where it gets really scary, because we have a lot of people with swords and guns here. If you know the swords and knives. If you know the Yakuza games, knives are really annoying. Not only do they hurt, but they also... Not only do they hurt, but they actually can stun lock you. Or, just stun, not stun lock. So you want to be really careful in this part of the game. This is where you can lose a lot of time, potentially. But that actually went pretty well. So, good stuff. And we are done with Chapter 7. And Chapter 8... a very rare chapter that starts without any cutscenes, and at this point we need to run away from Nishiki because, as he said, he's just coming for us. But first of all, we're going to get some skills. So mostly I'm just getting more heat and climax heat. So in the heat bar we have 2 components. We have the blue bars, which are normal heat, and the red bars, which are climax heat. Climax heat does 2 things. It gives you access to more heat moves. For example, the heat swing that we used a lot in this run is only available in climax heat. And it also buffs your damage. So, very important to have the right amount of climax heat. And heat, interestingly, you don't actually want too much heat. Because... Grab Mastery, that move that when we grab someone fills up our heat bar, you want it to reach all the way into climax heat. So if you have too many normal blue heat bars, that won't happen. And that's actually a problem on New Game Plus. It requires adjusting some of the strats. So, at this point in the run, you won't believe this, but Haruka got kidnapped.
Again?
Who would imagine, right? So we have to go around Kamurocho and deal with these color gangs and find out what's up with her. So, as you can see here, I have like that tiny bit of red in my heat bar. That's climax heat. And if I had even one more heat bar, normal heat, blue heat, then I wouldn't be able to start the fight right away with a heat swing. I would have to use like a heat recovering item. So I'm actually thinking of rerouting New Game Plus a bit, so you don't level up your heat all the way, but New Game Plus was a bit on the back burner because I wanted to improve New Game, but right now I might go back to doing that. At any rate, this is where we do a bit of walking around, so if there's any donations or anything you'd like to announce, please feel free.
I just want to say what a great job you've been doing now, keeping us up to date with everything that's been going on with this game. It's been a pleasure just to listen to you go on and on about this game, what you need to do and everything else. So GG's with that so far. But we definitely do want to make our incentives coming up here. 5:40 p.m. is going to be Secret of Mana, and we've got 2 incentives that will be coming up at the close of this run. First of all, the karaoke, $200 per song, a maximum of 5, which will close at the end of this run. So you've got about another 50 minutes to get in for that. And also at the close of this will be the 1-player 2-controller incentive for Yakuza Secret of Mana coming up. That's around 5:40 p.m. So in about let's see, that's 50 minutes from now. That will be when that incentive closes for the hand cam, and we are just $178 away from that. So get those donations in.
Absolutely, absolutely. Trust me, you don't want to... Everyone knows about Bakamitai in this game, and yeah, it's a great song. But there's actually another song that I think is even better in this game. In fact, this game contains... Man, that was almost another fight one, another optional fight we got right there, because I got stuck on some geometry. That would have been very embarrassing. Oh my god, they're really going for me this run. Jesus. Whew. I don't know if I've shared this with anyone, but there's actually like a bit of code in this game's PC port where when it recognizes my Steam ID, it brings up the likelihood of encounters like 100% or something like that. So that doesn't even make sense, what I just said. But the game is very mean to me sometimes, is what I'm trying to say.
No, it makes perfect sense right there. It's like a dollar acceptor not accepting a bill just because it's mine.
Yeah, exactly. Indeed. Thank you for the rescue. I appreciate it. And yeah, I'm glad the commentary is good. I used to focus a lot more on the story in my commentary until I realized that there's literally no sense in trying to make the story make sense in the space of 2 hours that the run takes. So might as well focus on the actual mechanics.
I mean, there's this person gets captured, they gets kidnapped again, they get kidnapped again, they get kidnapped again. How many times can I actually mention that?
True. There's only so many times you can explain Haruka getting kidnapped. So that was the final boss of this chapter. No, I'm just kidding. That was the first part of the fight. The actual last boss fight here is actually one of my favorite fights in the run. We're going to deal with the Akai Brothers, I believe. I speedrun this game, so I don't know anything about it, but I believe that's what they're called. For this fight, we will need the super spicy knife that we picked up just a little bit ago. And the way we deal with the brothers is as follows. First of all, you want to get rid of at least one of them as fast as possible. And me, personally, I prefer to get rid of the big guy. Why get rid of the big guy? To explain that, I need to show you the next part of the fight, which is where I will shoot a bunch of people. Don't do this at home, kids. Shooting people is illegal. And we will continue with stabbing the second brother. The reason why I prefer brother number 1 to go first is that when you shoot all of those guys, it knocks the brothers to the floor. And like I said before, guns don't really do much to bosses or mini-bosses in terms of damage, but it can lock them in a very, very long animation where we can't use the knife heat move on them. And we want to avoid that. So the brother I took care of first, the bigger guy, he actually has a much bigger chance of going into that animation. So I prefer to get rid of him first, just to get rid of that risk. Alright, and having dealt with these fine gentlemen, non-lethal shotgun, yes. Actually, good thing you reminded me, I need to equip the shotgun back. So we found out that Haruka got kidnapped by a Chinese gang called the Snake Flower Triad, who are located in Yokohama. Shout out to Yakuza 7. And, you know, when we use guns in fights, you can say, okay, that's not canon. That's fine. It's not like Kiryu does that canonically. But what I would like to do is show you this very short cutscene. Kiryu asks for Lao Kalong, the leader of the Snake Flower Triad. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about, completely innocent. This guy in the back, however, is already reaching for a gun. Now, Kiryu knows this, and he could just run over and knock the gun out of his hands, but he chooses to instead just let this poor waiter sacrifice his life for nothing. So that to me is the best Kiryu never killed anyone moment, because you can't deny that one. Like, you can't really explain that one except by Kiryu just being very cold-blooded. Which we will see again in this run, by the way, but we'll talk about that later. I want to get rid of these guys. This is actually going pretty well so far. You want to get rid of everyone in a very specific rhythm because you want to avoid that. You want to avoid the guy with the gun shooting you. That was actually really bad. But it's okay. And now I'm gonna go back down, grab a sword. The problem with this guy, I could charge throw him just like I did the first mini-boss. The problem is you can't grab people on stairs. This is like, this game is exactly like Dark Souls, in that stairs make the combat system not work properly. So I prefer to, specifically for him, I prefer to use a bladed weapon to finish him off. Alright, there's an enemy that was supposed to come this way, but he preferred to go the exact opposite direction. Here he is. That's fine. And now I need to deal with these guys and hope no one clocks me from behind while I do that. Alright, no luck. That's fine. Now we switch back to the dagger and head to the boss fight of this chapter with the same Lao Kalong that Kiryu mentioned before. Yakuza is Dark Souls. That is, you can quote me on that even. All right, so how we deal with Lao Kalong is mostly not that original. Again, just charge throw, heat move with the dagger. The more interesting part is here. Lao Kalong, much like Majima, doesn't know he's been defeated yet, so we need to explain this to him using this vase. The problem is, sometimes randomly you can't break his weapon, and it takes forever, just like what happened there. Just bad RNG, really nothing you can do about it. And he can do this on this phase again. Let's hope this will be faster. Yes, and there you go. So you just need to try and break his weapons as fast as you can. It usually happens pretty fast, but it's completely random. Alright, and for the people who were excited from the mouse tech in the portrait room before, get excited again, because there's some more mouse tech in this section, the shooting section. This interesting section where also Kiryu doesn't kill anyone, by the way. There's a couple of interesting things about this. First of all, anyone who played Yakuza 0, which you absolutely should do. Yakuza 0 is an absolutely amazing game. I prefer this game as a speedrun, but Yakuza 0 is my favorite Yakuza as a casual game. At any rate, in that game, even in the PC port, you can't actually use... I don't know why the way that guy rolled was really funny. Yeah, in Yakuza 0, you can't use a gun in the sorry, you can't use the mouse in the shooting section. But here we can, so we make ample use of that. I am no Overwatch Grandmaster, but I can... Really showing my age that Overwatch is my go-to shooter. But, yeah, I'm no Overwatch Grandmaster, but it goes a lot better with the mouse than it does with the controller, at least for me. Another interesting thing is, you'll notice that I'm not aiming at anyone's head. The object here isn't to get headshots, it's to hit as close as possible to the center of these circles that you're seeing. That's how you get max damage. So, you know, Yakuza walking its own path, blazing a new trail in the shooter world, which is why Dead Souls worked out so well. Everybody loved that game. Alright, and now you can one-cycle this guy, but man is it difficult. I managed to do it like twice, I think. Look at all this non-lethal. And they like accentuate with those blech sounds how visceral it is. It's horrible. Horrible what we're doing to these people. Anyway. Enough of that. So at this point, we got Haruka back, and that's fine. Problem is, we are... we find out that Reina, the woman who runs Serena, has been feeding Nishiki information this whole time, and he's actually ready to get rid of her. So her and Shinji, our friend, are on the run, and we have to go and help them. And I also need to do the last ability upgrade of the run, which is going to take a bit of time, so this is a good time to either read donations, talk about the charity, anything like that that we would like to do. Alright, I guess nothing to mention there. So we will just go to the quest for Shinji and Reina. So the way we're going to find Shinji and Reina is there are these comically large blood splotches all over the street, and we're just going to follow them to Shinji and Reina. If you're bleeding like this, like bleeding a whole 5 liters of blood every 2 blocks, I would get that checked. That is not how bleeding generally works. Ooh,
what do you mean? I thought everything was non-lethal.
True. I have no idea what I was thinking. No, actually, we can't fault them for that, because everything Kiryu does is non-lethal. Like Kiryu's bullets and blades and that sort of thing, that's non-lethal. Everyone else's bullets and blades is very lethal.
I just love the whole non-lethal thing that's going on in chat right now.
Yeah, it's great. It's a huge Yakuza meme for a very good reason. Always happy to feed the meme with these runs, because I think all Yakuza runs except for 7 just rely so heavily on guns. Probably not. I think K2 and 6 also don't, but K1, 3, 4, all definitely do. Alright, so we track Shinji and Reina down to this building. This is where the Nishiki family has them boxed in. Just filling his drink. That's actually a much better explanation. Like, if you told me that Shinji just has, like, a huge thing of Baja Blast and he just like, spills a bunch of it every 2 blocks, that would be a lot more credible than the blood explanation. Just some Majima. Yeah, he haunts me. Had to use an extra bullet. That's fine. So I'm using Rush here because it is faster most of the time, and once you're using guns, the only difference between Rush and Brawler is that when you don't have your gun on you, Rush is faster. So, oh, sorry, and there's actually a very important difference. Both Rush and Brawler and Beast as well, and Dragon. Oh my god. Oh my god. Hold on. Don't shoot me. Oh, god damn it. Whew. That's what happens when you don't keep track of your bullets. Sorry. So all fighting styles can use the weapons that you equip in your inventory, but Rush can't actually pick up weapons from the ground. So anytime I need to pick up a weapon from the ground, I switch to Brawler. So I still spend most of this section in Brawler, but going Rush in the beginning is just a tiny bit faster, and... Oh! Okay. Okay. That was very naughty of you to do. So yeah, Rush basically helps me do a better setup in that part. Anyway, shoot these guys, shoot this guy, get teleported. And here I'm going to both pick up a gun and equip one of my own. So the gun pickup is for this guy, just teleports us to the door. Very quick, very nice. The other gun has exactly the 10 bullets I will need to get through this entire section. At some point I'm also going to want to heal. I think I'm going to wait to heal until the boss fight. Alright, so count them. We have 4 enemies up here. By the way, something you might want to notice, when you aim with a gun in Yakuza, it actually takes Kiryu a moment to... Oh, what am I doing? A moment to actually lock onto a person. So after aiming, try to wait like a split second. This guy, the reason I didn't shoot him is he has a really long animation that blocks you from going up the stairs. So we just grab him, move him to another location, and then move right past him. I promise that you will see me use the Kamaki shot stopper in the run, and here that was. I'm going to now heal and use a shotgun. And now there's an skippable cutscene, so I can drink some water. Water. Isn't it the best? Line up with the locked doors. Yeah, it's always great how, even if you finish an enemy off with a gun, Kiryu will still take the time to apparently pick him up off the floor and punch him through the door, because that's just the way he rolls. Alright. Taking care of the minions, and now we can finish Arase off. You do want him to get hit by... Whenever you unsheath the spicy knife, or any knife really, it does some damage if you're close enough to the enemy. You want that, because otherwise Arase is left with like a sliver of health. Which you can deal with a stomp, but still. At any rate, so Shinji, sadly, Shinji and Reina both died at the end of the last chapter, and Shinji was our liaison with Kazuma. Or is it Kazama? Like I said, I'm not good at pronouncing Japanese names. Either way, Since he's dead, we have no way of contacting him. So, I very, very often do that mistake. Yeah, we have no way of contacting him. So the idea we have is to talk to his girlfriend, Akemi, who works in a club called Shangri-La. Shangri-La is a very exclusive club, and we need a membership card to get in there. Luckily, another woman who works at a hostess club by the name of Shinmei is willing to give us a membership card for Shangri-La. In return for a fake passport that she can use to stay in the country, because she's an illegal immigrant from China and needs to stay in the country to provide for herself and her brother. And it's nice because it does kind of show the plight of immigrants in Japan. It's a good moment story-wise, but Chapter 11 is by far the worst part of this run. And that was Majima getting despawned in front of our very eyes, by the way.
I do want to interrupt by saying it's going to be time for me to get out of here. So Palmy MK Games is going to be taking over for me for the remainder of this run, and good luck to BigNoNo, and let's get some hype in chat for BigNoNo and the remainder of our incentives. So take it away, Palmy.
Many thanks, man. I will be very happy to commentate the rest of these runs. Sorry for interrupting you.
No, go ahead. Please introduce yourself.
You bet. I am here as Palmy MK Games, just ready to read some donos, so get those in. We still got some great incentives to go, including hand can and some karaoke. So go and donate for your favorite songs that you want to have karaoke, as well as hand can. This hand can is, you can never go wrong with hand can.
So as you can see, Majima finally caught up to me. He was relentless this time. And here's the reason why it's not a huge deal. I mean, we are going to lose some time here, but as you can see, I can dispatch of him very quickly. And the good thing is, now for the rest of the run, Majima can't appear as a random encounter. He has a single scripted encounter near the Millennium Tower, which I have to remember to avoid because it loses like an ungodly amount of time if I don't. But it does mean we don't have to worry about random Majima encounters for the rest of the run. So that's sort of the glass half full of that. But yeah, some runs are just like this. Some runs, Majima or the normal fight spawns are just relentless, and you just lose the run. There's not really what you do. It's the thing you sign up for when you decide to run this game, which God knows why anyone does that. At any rate, as I was saying, this is kind of a dull chapter of the run a lot of the time, but there are still some really good fights at the tail end of it. But yeah, there's... Oh... Okay, now I have to be really careful. Okay, now Majima is at that location in green on the map. I need to really watch out not to go near there. Alright, so we're going back to the club. We're going to get the fake passport. Only karaoke songs are from Yakuza 0. That's fine. There's actually I'm trying to think. There's a bit of crossover. Like, both have Bakamitai. And I think some of the, like, maybe Shine is in both of them. But there's still at least one song that's unique to this game that's just amazing. So yeah, a big part of the risk in this chapter is because of how low it is on action. The entire first half or even 3/4 of it, Look at how many fight spawns saw me at the same time. Luckily, only one fight spawn can aggro onto you at any time. Again, that's new to the series. In 3, 4, and 5, and I think the older games as well, you can get as many aggroed fight spawns as you want. Like, as many as there are on the map, basically. So yeah, walking around a lot basically means a lot of fight spawns, basically means you really have to watch out. Luckily, there's also a lot of NPCs to talk to and a lot of sub-story triggers on this street that you can use to get rid of fight spawns. But it's still, it's a very dangerous chapter. Oh, sorry, I'm going the wrong way. So, the story now is we gave Shinmei the fake passport, but it turns out she didn't really have a Shangri-La membership card. She just really needed the passport, so she lied to us. Kiryu, being a good guy, gives her the passport anyway, and she says that this guy, who used to be one of her clients, might agree to part with his Shangri-La membership pass. And he does agree, but only for a price, for 300,000 yen. So this and the weapons are the main reasons we need so much yen in this run. And now that we have all of the weapons we got and the Shangri-La membership card, we are done with the money route for this game. We don't need any more money, and we're not going to spend any more money. So we're on the way to pick up Haruka to Shangri-La, but first we get this interesting text from Majima telling us that there's some people who are out to get us, and they're at the pier. And Majima's already there. Kiryu coming in doesn't notice this huge group of Dojima family people who are just off camera, and they're going to attack us. So we better deal with that. Rouge of Love, and I love 24 Hour Cinderella. Like, any karaoke with Majima is brilliant. It's just amazing. How well that guy sings, but also like injects Majima character into the performance as well. Majima has a really good song in Kiwami 2. Kiwami 2 is a great game. But unlike with the original Yakuza in this game, where like I think Kiwami is clearly the far superior game, I actually think the original 2 hangs with Kiwami 2 pretty well. I in some ways I actually prefer the original Yakuza 2. I definitely, people who love the series, I recommend checking that game out. Majima helps us. Kinda. The thing is, sometimes, you know the guy that I did the charge throw and the sword heat move on? If Majima knocks him down, it actually loses a lot of time, potentially. So, you want Majima to help, but not be too helpful during this part. Because if he does too much damage, you actually lose time. Alright, so we are taking Haruka to Shangri-La. And I thought I saw Majima. I didn't, but I did see a fight spawn. I was actually just going to say on the way to Shangri-La there's usually a lot of fight spawns. But that one was actually not positioned in a bad spot. Sometimes you actually have to talk to NPCs to despawn the many fight spawns that you can get on the way to Shangri-La. At any rate, there's a very, not really a trick, it's not relevant to the speedrun. There is a pretty funny thing I can do here, but it's kind of subtle, so I really need to focus and see if I can get it. No, I miss it. If you brush up against Haruka, then she actually gets stuck in the very beginning, like right at the top of the stairs, And when you get to this door, it looks like she talks to you all the way from back there, and it's really funny. I have it on what is still listed on SRC as the world record, but is actually no longer the world record. I honestly, I shouldn't have submitted another run without that animation thing. It's a worse run for it, even if it has a better time. At any rate, we are going to use the gun. We can run past all of these guys. You can completely ignore all the dudes in this set piece, except the big guys with the sofas. For them, we have these guns. And having gotten past them, we're left to deal with everyone's favorite Goro Majima! Yeah! Sadly, this is the very last Majima sighting in the run. Well, technically there's another small one, but maybe I'll mention it when we get to it, if I remember. Okay. What happens next is RNG. Let's see which RNG Majima gives us. Okay, we actually got the good RNG where we get the Q to E first, and then he Kiwamis later. This can happen the other way around. If he Kiwamis first, you lose 15 to 20 seconds. Again to RNG. Because why not? This is Yakuza Kiwami after all. Why don't you lose a huge amount of time to RNG? Okay. Really? I actually have not known about that. That's really cool. Yeah, I love Takaya Kuroda's voice. To those who don't know, Takaya Kuroda is Kiryu's voice actor, and as you can see, not only does he have an amazing speaking voice, but he's also a great singer. I can't really vouch, obviously, for the acting in these games because, you know, I don't speak Japanese, so I don't know how good the enunciation is and stuff like that, but his voice is amazing. I actually need to make a note of that. Hypnosis Microphone Division Rap Battle. I'll have to keep that in mind. Amazing. This is, by the way, the longest sequence of cutscene skips in the game. The chapter starts with a cutscene, then you skip another cutscene, then you skip these 8 cutscenes, and then you skip these cutscenes. This chapter, you'll see, this is a very short chapter. It's really more cutscene than chapter, really. So what we do here, in rush mode, we whip out the shotgun, get a couple of shots in there, just to clear some enemies out. Get rid of this guy, get rid of that guy. Why do I get rid of him first? Because he has a better shotgun than me, so I'm jealous. I get rid of the tougher guys who don't get dealt properly by the normal shotgun. And then this guy who's a mini-boss and therefore takes basically no damage from shotguns. I use a charge throw on him, and because I'm at full health, that gets rid of him. And that's how that goes. Alright, now we have Shimano, the lovely human being from Chapter 3. He's here with... Excuse me, sir. Please don't interrupt me. He's here with all of his minions. And we are going to deal with him much like we did before, with a charge throw and a knife heat move. And that is the end of our friend Shimano. Goodbye. See you next run. All right, and we're at the finale. So we are, depending on how well the final boss fights go, we're like 10, 11 minutes away, maybe even less from the end of the run. By the way, if you're wondering if you can get to this point of the game on world record pace and Majima can hang around here and just ruin your day and force you into an encounter, yes, you can. Happened to me twice. But I'm not bitter about it. I would like chat to note that I'm not bitter about any of this. Alright, upon telling Kazuki that we are ready, we begin this sequence of 4 fights in Tenkaichi. And the way we deal with these is there's kind of an interesting rhyming scheme here. So, first of all, I heat swing this guy, get rid of the mini boss, and then I just start shooting folks. Second fight, I don't need to turn around too much. They're already lined up. Oh no! Oh no! Why'd you have to do that? Come on. So I shoot those guys. I shot too late, so this guy got a hit in. But if I heal up, I can still deal with him with just one charge throw. Same thing here. Shot staggers the boss, takes care of the goons, and I can just charge throw that guy. So that's how that's supposed to go. So when I said an interesting rhyming scheme, I meant this fight, the fourth, is very similar to the first one, and the second and third fights are also very similar. So again, we use a heat swing to get rid of the boss and 2 other guys. Very important here to get rid of the guy with the gun fast, otherwise he ruins your day. And yeah, that's the first part of the finale. And now we head to the 2-part set piece that wraps up this run. So I hope everyone got all their donations out of the way. Remember, I think we're still going on karaoke. And yeah, remember to donate to anything else you might want to see. I forgot to switch to my full shotgun. That's very bad. Can we switch quickly? Yes, we can. Want to go a bit to the left here, otherwise you may not hit one of the guys behind the pillar. After you're done with the guys down here, you grab a gun and you go upstairs. Upstairs you need to pick your targets carefully, because some of them have guns, and people with guns are kinda mean. Pick up another gun when you're done with that. And we're left with exactly 1 shot. I will use this shot on this mini-boss. Because he's a mini-boss, he's not going to take much damage. However, he is going to get staggered, and I'm going to charge throw him and do a heat move. If you don't stagger him, he can actually dodge you, and that's very annoying. After you're done with that, you can equip a gun, a pistol, whatever you want to call it. Switch to rush and go down here, deal with these nice fellas. Don't forget that there's one behind you. And switch back to the shotgun. What are you doing? I did not want to do that. That was very bad. That may actually be a problem. We'll see how we deal with that. Anyway, same idea here. Use the gun to get rid of the minions and stagger the boss, the mini-boss. And then you can just charge throw him. And that's that. Pretty good stuff. Never killed a man with a gun. Look. If you know what you're doing with a gun, you can aim it at all the non-lethal parts of the body, okay? I will not let people here in chat accuse Kiryu of not knowing how to use the gun properly, okay? Let's get this Kiryu slander out of chat. Hashtag Kiryu did nothing wrong. I'm actually going to be unorthodox here and switch. Where's the mini-boss? There you are. Don't hit me. Thank you. Now I'm gonna have to switch shotgun again, but that's fine. We will lose 3 seconds, but it will be much, much safer. Alright, and this begins our path towards Jingu, who probably anyone who played Kiwami casually probably curses the man's existence. In the story, he's not a very nice man either. I guess I haven't even mentioned him. Just, again, the story is so convoluted, there's no time to speak. Even of all the major important parts of it, that's just the way it is, unfortunately. Nope, no, should be. Alright, thanks. That guy should have shot me for his own interests, but I'm glad he didn't. Alright, and that's the end of us needing to use guns. The only weapon we're going to use for the rest of this run is the knife. And here's an interesting thing. So far, we've only used Heat Swing on normal enemies. But did you know that you can actually use it on bosses and mini-bosses as well? And it works quite nicely. So, I needed to break that guy's guard like that because you can't, if you grab someone and knock them to the floor, when you try to grab them again, they have a free counter on you. So you have to break their guard before you can grab them again. Alright, so second verse, same as the first. I'm just going to, what am I doing? I'm just going to charge up my heat, grab this guy, another heat move, beautiful. Oh, nice. He almost hit me with the knife, but he didn't. This is actually a really good Jingu fight. There you go. So this fight can go really, really badly, but that was actually a really good Jingu. If I had this Jingu in my PB, I would have saved 20 seconds. But again, I'm not bitter about anything, chat. Please note that I'm not bitter. And yeah, this is the final confrontation with Nishiki. So we're actually 2 minutes away from the end of the run, something like that. So what we do with Nishiki to start off is going to look very similar. We're going to do a charge throw and then a knife heat move. However, that's not quite enough to get rid of Nishiki. Nishiki really hangs on to the world. He really doesn't want the game to end. So what we're going to do is to get Nishiki to move between phases without triggering his Kiwami, which regenerates a nasty amount of health. We need to headbutt him in precise moments in his getting up animation, which is actually kind of, it's more difficult than it seems because after this part, I don't really know where the camera roll will be, so I need to adjust and walk the right way. And there's a very good chance that I'll miss and he'll get his Kiwami off. But we got it! Yes! Alright, no Kiwami from Nishiki, so we are literally moments away from the end of the run. There's going to be a QTE one. Now, the QTE is not the end of the run, but it's coming up. It's when the screen turns purple after Kiryu punches Nishiki. I will say when it happens. We're coming up on it. And time. So according to my timer, that was just under 1:57, which for a marathon run is very good. This marathon run actually went pretty damn well. Glad about this. So yeah, at this point, have we met our karaoke incentive?
I am looking. I'll be just a second on it.
No problem.
We have not, unfortunately.
That is unfortunate. So yeah, no karaoke for us tonight, but I do implore you to play these games, not just for the karaoke, but they're really good games, even casually. Yakuza is an excellent series to get into, and now all the games are on PC, really easy to get. I recommend it. if you want to get into this run, hopefully I managed to convince you that this is a very intense and very cool run. And if I did, and you want to learn to run, there's plenty of guides on our speedrun.com page that you can use. And you can feel free to contact me. I'm always happy to help people get into the run. And yeah, like I said, I got the world record down to a 153 yesterday. Later this year, I want to get back into it and get the 152, which is going to be really, really intense. So if you're interested in that, or interested in other speedruns, I also speedrun Katana Zero, Eternal Darkness, other games. I'm probably going to get into Village speedruns soon. Follow me at BigNoNo on Twitch. And yeah, I think that's it. Anything else we need to say before signing off?
The only thing I gotta say is our last incentive, which is hand cam, is only $158 away from the goal. So do try your best to get those in, because I also, too, would like to see what that looks like. Speaking of which, we actually have an anonymous $20 donation saying, I need to see how someone manages 2 controllers at once. What? Going
Indeed.
to Secret of Mana hand cam.
All right, everyone. That's it for me then. Thank you very much, and let's enjoy the rest of this excellent marathon. Many other good runs coming up.